that the sound of this bell pervades the universal Dharma realm, bringing luminous white light to the black iron perimeter of hell, removing in an instant the suffering caused by the three evil ways. A mountain of swords is destroyed, and all sentient beings enter enlightenment together. Homage to the Master Teacher, Vairocana Buddha, compassionate Lord of the Lotus-born universe, expounding the treasured verses of the sacred golden text contained within precious cases written on jade scrolls. Each dust mote interpenetrates, and the universe becomes one. Every realm is united with all other worlds. The truth is contained in the 1,095,048 words of the utmost vehicle's consummate teaching. Homage to the Avatamsaka Sutra, expounded by the Buddha. To understand the Buddhas of endless time, just penetrate this phrase. Everything is created by mind alone. The mantra of shattering hell. Namo Atashijinam Samyak Sabotabujinam Om Ajnabhavasi Juju. Namo Atashijinam Samyak Sabotabujinam Om Ajnabhavasi Juju. Namo Atashijinam Samyak Sabotabujinam Om Ajnabhavasi Juju. Vowing now for the rest of my life not to give rise to extraneous thoughts, following only Amitabha Buddha. Thought after thought will constantly merge with the rays of his jade-like brilliance, each instant never leaving the qualities of his golden form. Holding a mala and bearing witness to the universal Dharma realm, empty space is but a thread, leaving nothing unconnected. There is nowhere that Vairocana Buddha is not present equally. Through contemplation, seek Amitabha of the Western Shore. Homage to the great teaching master, Lord of the Western Shore, the Buddha, the Tathagata of infinite light. Homage to Amitabha Buddha. The land of ultimate bliss has 10 kinds of adornment. Homage to Amitabha Buddha. It is adorned with Dharmakara's vow, his cultivation cause. Homage to Amitabha Buddha. Adorned with the power of Amitabha's 48 vows. Amitabha Buddha. Adorned with Amitabha's name and the brilliance of his life force. Homage to Amitabha Buddha. Adorned with the bejeweled images observed by the three Mahasattvas. Homage to Amitabha Buddha. Adorned with the peaceful bliss of Amitabha's Western world. Homage to Amitabha Buddha. Adorned with bejeweled rivers, running with pure and meritorious water. Homage to Amitabha Buddha. Adorned with bejeweled basilicas, with halls of wish-fulfilling jewels. Homage to Amitabha Buddha. Adorned with lengthy days and nights. Homage to Amitabha Buddha. Adorned with the Pure Land's 24 kinds of pleasure. Homage to Amitabha Buddha. Adorned with the 30 kinds of beneficial merit. Homage to Amitabha Buddha. Amitabha Buddha, who is unparalleled in heaven or on earth. Homage to Amitabha Buddha. He is also unmatched throughout the worlds of the 10 directions. Homage to Amitabha Buddha. He has seen the annihilation of self in everything in the world. Homage to Amitabha Buddha. There is no one who is like Amitabha Buddha. Homage to Amitabha Buddha. He can keep track of thoughts as numerous as all the dust motes in the universe. Homage to Amitabha Buddha. He can quaff all the waters in the universe. Homage to Amitabha Buddha. He can control the wind that fills space. Homage to Amitabha Buddha. No one can completely describe that Buddha's merit. Homage to Amitabha Buddha. Amitabha Buddha is omnipresent. Homage to Amitabha Buddha. Keep your thoughts on him and never forget. As thoughts probe that place of no thought, the 6 sense gates will constantly emanate light of purple and gold. Homage to Amitabha Buddha. Amitabha's face, like the full moon, is at the front of the hall of ultimate bliss. Homage to Amitabha Buddha. His jade excrescence and his gold form radiate through space. Homage to Amitabha Buddha. If a person call his name for only a moment, they will instantly consummate immeasurable merit. Homage to Amitabha Buddha. Along with all sentient beings, I vow together to enter the sea of Amitabha's great vows, and to ferry across sentient beings, so that I and others may simultaneously complete the path to Buddhahood. The sublime mantra of the original mind of Amitabha Buddha. Anyatao Aritara Savaha. Anyatao Aritara Savaha. Anyatao Aritara Savaha. Onyatao Aritara Savaha. Onyatao Aritara Savaha. Onyatao Aritara Savaha. Onyatao Aritara Savaha. Om
Good morning, Sangha. Yang Su and I are here together, and we received a message that we are not on the original feed. We're not on the originally scheduled live feed, so hopefully, if you're watching this, you found us. Hopefully, wouldn't have too much trouble finding us, but my apologies, because somehow in some multiverse somewhere, I pushed the wrong button. Now, next week, I have exciting news. Next week, we will have an actual tech team or person who knows what they're doing with this stuff. And I am so grateful for Jake Luker and Michael Dewey and Jen Dewey for her donations, but we will have cameras and microphones and be able to have a single position and not moving a table around. So thank you so much for your patience while we've been our way through this, because when it comes to being techno-ignorant, Yang Su and I are probably ranked, he's number 2 and I'm number 1. So thank you for your patience. Thank you, Sangha. We appreciate you so much. We'll begin with the 3 refuges. And we say together, I go for refuge to Buddha, my deeply awakened mind, the living source of understanding and compassion, which must be cultivated to be known fully. I go for refuge to Dharma, the path of mindful living leading to healing, joy, and enlightenment, the way of peace, which must be cultivated to be known fully. I go for refuge to the Sangha, the loving and supportive community of practice, realizing harmony, awareness, and liberation, which must be cultivated to be known fully. I am aware that the 3 jewels are within my heart. I vow to realize them. I vow to understand living beings and their suffering. I vow to cultivate loving kindness and compassion and to practice joy and equanimity. I vow to live simply and sanely, content with few possessions, and to keep my body healthy. I vow to let go of all worry and anxiety in order to be light and free. I am aware that I owe so much to my parents, teachers, friends, and all beings. I vow to be worthy of their trust, to practice wholeheartedly, so that understanding and compassion will flower, and I can help living beings be free from their suffering. May the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha support my efforts. May the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha support my efforts. May the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha support my efforts. Now on the next page, we will do the Heart Sutra. Dhamma Prajna
Hridaya Sutra. The Bodhisattva of great compassion from the deep practice of prajna, paramita, perceived the emptiness of all five skandhas and delivered all beings from their suffering. O Shariputra, form is no other than emptiness, emptiness no other than form, form is emptiness, emptiness form. The same is true of feeling, thought, impulse, and consciousness. O Shariputra, all dharmas are empty. They are not born nor annihilated. They are not defiled nor immaculate. They do not increase nor decrease. So in emptiness, no form, no feeling, no thought, no impulse, no consciousness. No eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, mind, no form, sound, smell, taste, touch, or objects of mind, no realm of sight, no realm of consciousness, no ignorance, nor extinction of ignorance, no old age and death, nor extinction of them. No suffering, no cause of suffering, no cease from suffering, no path to lead out of suffering, no knowledge, no attainment, no realization, for there is nothing to attain. The Bodhisattva holds on to nothing but prajna, paramita. Therefore the mind is clear of any delusive hindrance. Without hindrance there is no fear. Away from all perverted views, one reaches final nirvana. All Buddhas of past, present, and future, through faith in prajna, paramita, attain to the highest perfect enlightenment. Know then the prajna, paramita, is the great Dharani, the radiant, fearless mantra, the utmost supreme mantra, which is capable of allaying all pain. This is true beyond all doubt. Proclaim now the highest wisdom, the prajna, paramita. Gate, gate, paragate, parasamgate, bodhisvaha. Gate, gate, paragate, parasamgate, bodhisvaha. Gate, gate, paragate, parasamgate, bodhisvaha. Maha prajna paramita hridaya sutra.
Good morning again, Sangha. The title of today's Dharma talk is On the Other Side of Fear. It seems that if we allow our monkey minds much opportunity at all, we would live in a constant state of fear because of everything going on in our world today. We have the COVID virus, we have presidential election, we have riots about Black Lives Matter, riots in the streets. Just last night, there were 7 people shot. It just seems like we're living in this world in which it would be very, very easy to live within a life of fear. Now, after a commuter plane crash in Buffalo, New York in February 2009, Governor David Paterson made this comment: "We're all connected, and we find out how connected we are on days like this. We try to love our neighbors as we would love ourselves, but today we love our neighbors because we realize they are ourselves." And it was just 2 years and 7 months later that we encountered September 11th. A time when people left in the morning with the full expectation that they would be returning to their homes, their loved ones, their family, their friends in the evening. And for over 3,000 of them, that never happened. Now, when we think of or consider those things about which we are fearful or tend to be fearful, there are typically other feelings that accompany that fear. The fear associated with those events or situations, a sinking feeling in the pit of your stomach, tension in your muscles, headaches, twitching, tremors, even nightmares. When we live in that state of fear, rarely do we consider what it is that lies just on the other side of that door labeled fear. We simply live in our perceptions of all the things that can happen before the door is even open. John Tarrant is a psychotherapist and a Buddhist teacher, and he's written a chapter in a very wonderful book published by Shambhala, and it's called In the Face of Fear: Buddhist Wisdom for Challenging Times. Is there anyone out there that has any doubt whatsoever that we are living in challenging times? Raise your hand. I don't see any hands, so I'm going to hope that no hands are being raised. He provides some good insight into facing our fears to move beyond our conditioned responses to fear that range from paralysis by analysis, thinking too much about it, what we're fearful, all the way to sheer panic. Our acceptance of whatever the situation brings is the first step in dealing with our fears. But what is it that we're really accepting? I'd like you to consider the following. Number one, life is uncertain. Surprises are likely. We have all experienced that. We teach it here at the temple that uncertainty is one of the only things that we can be certain of. That life will change at a moment's notice, and especially when we were expecting something else. And those changes often bring about a great deal of fear. I have a dear friend who has 3 sons, and those sons each have achondroplasia. That is a form of dwarfism. Now, the 2 younger ones are boys, and they'll be 20 shortly. One of them is in college, figuring out what he wants to do with his life. The other works in his father's business, a machine shop. And then the other son is 21 and in a graduate program at the University of Michigan in sports management, and even has managed in this master's program to get an internship with the Detroit Tigers. So we're very, very proud of him. Now, in 1 week's time, that culminated with yesterday, the oldest one went skydiving for the first time. Now, if you can picture this young 21-year-old man with achondroplasia jumping out of a plane, a perfectly good airplane, okay, with a parachute on his back. But that was one of the things on his bucket list, and he said that he didn't sleep very well the night before. He was very anxious, a bit fearful. And then I watched the video of him standing at the open door of this airplane, ready to jump out, and he had on his face a look of sheer panic. Now, he had somebody videotape his jump all the way to the ground, to the landing. And as he went down, his smile got bigger, and his smile got bigger, and he was giving the thumbs up, and it was just a joyous occasion, one of these things for this young 21-year-old man to do, was skydiving. And he went from panic to joy, and then back to concern when he got close to the ground, and then he sort of slid in for a landing and went back to great joy again. That happened. Then one of the twins was in an accident with his girlfriend. The car was totaled. I saw pictures of the car. And it's one of those, when you look at the picture, you wonder, how could somebody walk away from that with just scrapes and bruises and bloody knees? How could anybody just walk away from that? But they did, thankfully. They were okay. But you can imagine a mother's reaction to that, getting a call from her son saying, Mom, we were in an accident, the car is totaled, and so on. And then yesterday, although it was not completely unexpected, the family had to put down their collie of 13 years because they didn't want to watch him suffer anymore. So in 1 week's time, she was grabbed like a rag doll and emotionally thrown around by her emotions. All of the things swirling around in her head. Great joy, great concern, great sorrow, great grief. But what were her reactions? She allowed herself her joy, concern, and grief. But the ultimate reactions were great joy that her son had such a great time skydiving, and for the first time in his life, and that he had so much fun, and it was off his bucket list, and he loved it. Great relief that her son and the girlfriend got away with scrapes and bruises, and grief accompanied by great joys and good memories they received through the life of their colleague. That's a far healthier position than just living in the, well, this could have happened, that could have happened, what if, this could have, maybe this could have, what if this had happened? It didn't. What happened, happened. And she didn't deny the very real feelings that she had inside. She moved beyond those feelings of fear and concern on to the joys that existed. Number two, if you're alive, that's good. Now lower the bar. What does that mean? No matter what predicament you may find yourself in, notice one thing above all else. I'm alive. Now, given the vastness of the universe, that is a very unlikely event, okay? When you really think about it, the fact that you're alive is astounding. And so you can take joy and delight in this occurrence. When you do that, no matter what predicament you're in, realizing that you're alive and saying, Yahoo, I'm alive, that's good enough. You don't need lots of stuff because that's the tendency. We're alive. We want to grow, we want more, we want to have more, we want to do more, we want to be involved in more, and then we fear losing it. Let's stick with being alive and then lower the bar from there. Number three, if you're in a predicament, there will be a gate. Now let's face it, being human in and of itself is a predicament. There is a koan where the student asks the master, when times of great difficulty visit us, how should we greet them? And the teacher replies, welcome. That's how we should greet our times of great predicament. Now I want to read a passage by Tarrant, and those of you who know me and some of the challenges I've been through can understand why I had a very visceral gut reaction to this passage, but I can't do it the justice that he does, so I'm just going to read it. When I had cancer, I thought it might be inconvenient or frightening, but it was interesting. It made me a lot less lazy about being present. There was a time when diagnosis, course of treatment, and outcome were all uncertain, and in that condition, my mind reached for certainty over and over and over again. That quest, being hopeless, brought pain. But when my mind stopped reaching out, and fell back into the warm dark of uncertainty, isn't that a wonderful thing? The warm dark of uncertainty. When my mind reached out and fell back into that warm dark of uncertainty, time stretched out. infinitely on either side, and there was a pool of joy that seemed bottomless. Joy in breathing, joy in hearing the birds in the cold before dawn. Having cancer was much more exciting than sitting in an armchair watching the game on Sunday. And everything I looked at had the aspect of tenderness and delicacy. I looked into the checkout clerk's eyes and saw the universe looking back. Wow. Just wow. What a description. What a description of the gate out of the predicament, falling back into the warm pool, the darkness of uncertainty, and allowing it to be, not trying to mess with it at all. Number 4, when you stop grasping, what you need might be given to you. As my friend was going through her emotional roller coaster last week, I found myself grasping at what I might be able to do or say in even one part of her situation, much less the 3 parts that she was dealing with. I grasped for the right words to say, but there were no right words. I couldn't say I understood because I didn't understand. This was her struggle, not mine. There was no song to sing, no book to read, no answers that I was grasping to be had. So in the darkness of that moment, I said what I had learned to say because of the people who had been there when I was going through such times of turmoil, darkness, and uncertainty. I'm here. I'm here. And we sat in silence, a soft, non-intrusive, non-grasping silence. And that was my gift to her and to myself. Number 5, the true life is somewhere between winning and losing. And when you think about it, you understand that contradiction, living somewhere between winning and losing, is the fully human and fully alive place to be. It's the place we all are if we allow ourselves to embrace it, to admit it. Isn't that curious? The true life is between winning and losing. It's not winning or losing, it's between. The in-between is where humans always are, and that's what we have to welcome. A story with an uncertain ending. And again, I'm going to refer back to Tarrant, because this condition is so interesting. If you inhabit it, if you inhabit this space, the in-between space, it comes alive. It's not stagnant, it's not nowhere, it's somewhere, and it's fully alive and fully human. So I'm going to read a passage from the book, which I found absolutely hilarious. I have an amusing memory of being in between. I was on a trawler steaming up the coast toward Townsville in North Queensland with a storm starting to come in. It wasn't bad yet. It was 3/4 of a gale, but increasing. Visibility was good. We were rolling a lot, but then we always did with the sea running. We were loaded with prawns, and we thought we were rich. So you can see the way the mind swings around. It's good we have prawns. It's bad the storm is coming. It's good the storm isn't here yet. It's bad we are nowhere near port. This is the whole human story. We came upon another boat in the fleet. He had taken a wave over the stern and his cockpit filled and wasn't draining. The boat was now more down at the stern than was really desirable with the weather coming in. He was trying to bail, but his stern was low enough that water kept washing in. He could probably solve the problem by throwing his catch overboard, but hell, he wasn't going to do that. He had pawned his guitar and slipped out of port at night ahead of the bailiffs. He wasn't going to surrender those prawns. He was alone, without a deckhand, and there was some discussion on the radio about whether I would swim over to his boat to help out. I wasn't thrilled at the prospect. Although the water was warm, which was positive, there were sharks, which was probably a negative. But perhaps they weren't tiger sharks, a positive, if true. Also, from his point of view, if I came aboard, would he have to pay me a share? And would his boat sink anyway? He was clearly overloaded. The situation looked pretty sketchy. Then he beached his trawler on a sandbar, where through some peculiarity of the wave action wasn't so bad. He was grounded and trying to pump out his cockpit, and it came to me. Everybody was completely, deliriously happy. Will he lose his boat? Will I swim over? Are there really sharks? Should I swim over? How much will we get for our catch? How far over will we go on this roll? Everybody was as interested as it is possible to be, as interested as angels would be watching over the pretty earth. We were delighted to be there, wallowing along our very own predicament. It was funny, and it was also a moment of insight. The Buddhist word is prajna, the wisdom that cuts off delusion and leads to natural appreciation and compassion. Not only can we be happy in our difficulties, but if we truly know this, we are already happy. It's important not to discount the idea that in a crisis, you might be having the time of your life. And I recall being in situations like that before, and situations like that when we were sailing and ran into storms and had the entire leading edge of our mainsail shredded. And it was exciting, it was terrifying, but I will tell you this, we were truly alive. When I went through the bout of cancer, the one thing that I noticed was that I was alive. That was something to rejoice about. It was scary, but I was alive. I used to have an office in the Amway Grand, and every day I would park my car and walk across the ramp over the street, and there would be a maintenance man there. I would address him by name, and I'd say, "How you doing today?" And he would say, "Doc, it's a good day to be above ground." And I always agreed with that. What is today? It's a good day to be above ground. Embrace it. Rejoice in it. You will have predicaments, but there will always be a gate. Lastly, if you have nothing, give it away. All of history is right here, right now, in whatever we are doing in this very moment. In Buddhism, this is called the Bodhisattva path, in which we want everyone to share in the joy of understanding. Now, I want you to be very, very careful when you hear that phrase, the joy of understanding, because life itself is not always a joy. It is the understanding of life in its fullest context that brings joy. The path comes from losing things more than gaining things. If you lose everything, you might be lucky enough to lose who you thought you were all along, and lose whatever fear and despair goes along with that particular identity. We are truly part of something vast, and generosity is an effortless consequence of discovering that. All of the richness of a well-lived and service well-given lies, I'm sorry, I have a typo here. I put lives where it should say lies. Let me repeat that, because this is important. All of the richness of a life well lived and service well given lies just on the other side of our fear. The only question is, are we willing to open the door? Prepare yourselves for meditation. rebound. We have a couple of announcements. If you receive our newsletter, you will have noticed, if you read it, and if you don't receive our newsletter, get on it, that while next week we will have a technical team here, a group of people who are technically savvy and can help us navigate with new equipment. We're looking for more. We would like a complete team that could rotate out Sundays, that they wouldn't have to be here every Sunday. And because we plan on continuing the live streaming even after the temple reopens, and we have absolutely no idea when that's going to be. So if you have technical skills and would like to have a volunteer opportunity here at the temple, being on the technical team would be a great way to put those skills to use. I want to read to you an email that I received this week. I'm only going to give the person's first name, and I must say, and her first name is Barbara, and I must say I'm not familiar with Barbara, and if she's been coming to the temple a long time and I'm not familiar with her, that is definitely a gross oversight on my part. But I've never seen her name come up on any class lists or precept list or bodhisattva list or the classes that are offered here at the temple. So for me, this was a new name and it was out of the blue. Good morning, Venerable Amko. A week ago, you asked the Sangha to examine a set of questions that pertain to our taking ownership of the temple and the Sangha. Here is my humble response to those questions. Why am I here? I believe that the Buddha's Dharma has helped me immeasurably in the past, and I want to support that for others who are in need of a better way. What am I looking for? I am looking for a sense of community with others on the path to awakening. What can I offer? I can offer a small financial commitment as well as a commitment to help with the setup, the upkeep of the temple building, cleaning, setting up before service, etc. I can offer a commitment to be present on occasion when the temple reopens so that I may be available to others for kinship and support and to myself for continued learning. I can commit to some community service as well. What am I offering to support the temple and the Sangha? Small financial offering, gratitude for the leadership. If I am not offering anything to the temple and Sangha, why not? No answer to that one, because obviously she's offering. Thank you for asking us to take ownership of our responsibilities to the temple and each other. Thank you for your continued commitment to bring to others and myself the Buddha's teachings. With much gratitude, Barbara. That's the only response I received. And when I received it, I just stared at it. And I reread it and reread it and reread it. In the morning bell chant, we say, If a person call Amitabha's name for only an instant, they will receive immeasurable merit. Whether Barbara knows it or not, she is a bodhisattva. She is a Buddha. And she has taken responsibility, the responsibilities as she is able, and ownership of the temple and her involvement in the Sangha. And that was just a blessing, and that email, Barbara, was the highlight of my week. So in deep gratitude, I bow deeply to you. And now we will do our closing gathas. We'll do them for sitting down, so I don't have to move the camera as it is right now. And we say together, for all unskillful action ever committed by me since of old, on account of my beginningless greed, anger, and ignorance, born of my body, mouth, and thoughts, now I atone for them all. Vast is the robe of compassion, a formless field of benefaction. I wear the Buddha's teachings for the benefit of all sentient beings. All beings, one body, I vow to liberate. Endless blind passions, I vow to uproot. Dharma gates without number, I vow to penetrate. The great way of Buddha, I vow to attain. Thank you all for being present at the service today. I'm glad you were here. I'm glad you found us, if you found us. And I can't see the screen. Mark, is there anything, or Yansu, is there anything we should be aware of besides the fact that we weren't on the right screen?
Several people said good morning, and I'm having a hard time finding that. There was hellos from Brian, Chris, Ellen and Peter, Jeremy, Z, Jan, Jennifer, Chris, and little Bogey 22.
All right. Well, thank you all. Thank you all for being part of our service. And we look forward to seeing you again next week when the Venerable Shuji will be offering the Dharma talk for the first time since she has returned to the temple. So we will look forward to that. And thank you all. Have a great day.